So our celebration of Easter is the culmination or the coming together of many, many events. It marks the end of the whole life of Jesus Christ on earth, his public ministry of 3 years, and then the trial, the arrest, the trial, the crucifixion. And then we come to this crescendo where all the things that people were expecting or thinking would happen didn't happen, and there were these incredibly pleasant surprises. The Easter surprises, we call them. This is really, the message is really of Easter is really about happy endings, and that there really are happy endings in life. And so what is prevalent and what is really the reigning idea here is the way that the whole Easter story begins, whether it's the women coming to the tomb or the disciples being told about the Lord, that he's not in the tomb anymore and that he's risen. This disbelief, there's this sense that it's just, there's no way that this can be the way that they're hearing. And so the point I want to make when we think about the storyline here is that everyone in this story, all of the closest followers of the Lord, thought that it was the end. And so the women who came to the tomb on Easter morning were coming there simply to take care of the body. And of course, the body wasn't there. The stone had been rolled away. And we get these incredible statements or questions from the angels. And that should be an indicator to us that there's tremendous wisdom in these questions. So basically, the angels are saying, what are you doing here? You're in the wrong place. You're not going to find anything of meaning, of substance in the tomb from darkness. The Lord's not here. He's risen, as he said. So the thinking of all the people, all these closest followers, was that the Lord was gone, it's over, and some of them were going back to the life that they had been living. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Or the phrase or the question that I'd like us to think about is, why do you seek the living among the dead? Why do you seek the living among the dead? I want us to think a little bit about what it is that makes us feel alive, truly alive, and the things that make us feel like we have no energy. We're not optimistic. We don't have a sense of a bright future. And the reason for doing this and taking you through this process is that in all the stories of the Lord's Word, these stories really are about us and about the journey that we go through. So we all go through an Easter journey. And we can be like the followers of the Lord and think that things are so bad that it's the end. Game over, as we say. And that could be about a lot of different things. It could be about a relationship. It could be the way we view the world around us right now. And it just feels like for some people, it just feels like the end. Or all of us, we can get quite hopeless. We can despair quite a lot. And so we need to listen to those questions that come from or statements from the angels. Why do you seek the living among the dead? And so the way that we can really think of this is to think of phrases that we use in everyday language. One of them is when we're trying to extract meaning or we're trying to make forward motion and we try these different things and they don't work. One of them is that trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's to seek the living among the dead, because we're not making any progress. It might be in a conversation that we're having someone. It might be in a relationship that we have. We just can't seem to get it to shift, to budge, to move in a different direction. We try the same thing over and over again. We can't get someone to come over to our side in terms of a point of view. And we keep on trying. And maybe if I increase the volume, I can extract something that I'm wanting from it. And as some of these teachings that you heard this morning, without the Lord, we can do nothing. Without the Lord, we cannot experience that feeling of being alive, that feeling of being able to be with the living. And so that's one. In everyday language, that's one of the things. Another one is sometimes people talk about trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work. We don't realize that that's what we're doing, but trying to shove a round peg into a square hole never works. And so one of the reasons why this can be so difficult is that we may not necessarily know, and this is why we need the Lord's help so much, is that there are things that are getting in the way. It could be arrogance. It could be the way that we're talking to someone or treating them. And again, we're trying to extract meaning and purpose from things that are dead. Because when we tap in, again, we may not realizing it, but selfishness, arrogance, feelings of superiority, these are all things that we can slip into when we try to do things on our own without the Lord. So I want us to move to, well, what does it mean to seek the living and not the dead? Because we know from experience that our tomb time where there's darkness, it represents falsehood. It's not going to be, there's nothing edifying or happy that's going to come out of that tomb, which is why the angels say, what are you doing here? Why did you come to the tomb? This is not where the Lord is. What makes you feel alive? You know, we're talking about feeling alive and then feeling like it's all over. For children, for you children, it could be just simply a friendship. You got into some sort of argument with a friend and you feel like your friendship has gone. Or it may be something that you were looking forward to and you were really expecting it and then it didn't happen for some reason or other. It can really, those experiences can feel like our world is over. Or it may be that we're feeling poorly about ourselves and we're just like, I can't seem to do anything right. And so those are types of things that can sort of take our energy, suck the energy out of the room, or just make us feel like we don't have any vitality inside of us. So to follow the angel's invitation to seek the living is to find, well, what is it that provides a living connection? The most powerful living connection is right there. We might say, a book? Really? A book? That's a living connection? That's going to make us feel alive? Absolutely. I'm sure you've had the experience when we go to the Lord's Word, every time you go, you see something different because it is the Lord speaking to us and He is alive. So our connection to the Lord and His Word, our connection with angels, we're talking about the message from the angels to the followers of Jesus who thought it was all over. It was all done. And the angel said, no, there's a very different thing going on here. And our connection to each other. You think about the two great commandments, loving the Lord and loving the neighbor. These are the connectors. These are the things that will make our life come alive if we're feeling that it has no meaning. And the loving the Lord and loving the neighbor as ourselves, or more than ourselves, is what will really bring vitality back to our life. So we're contrasting living connections with connections that are actually really dead. Because if we are in a situation where we're holding a grudge or we're annoyed, and we all experience these things, we're annoyed, we're frustrated, we're feeling critical, we're feeling superior than other people, all of these things are like being in that tomb, and there's no life there. And so in moving to the application of this Easter story, if indeed we are tracking and following the discovery of these followers of the Lord as they come to realize that where they're going or where they're trying to seek the Lord is in the wrong place, so too with us. We have to realize that there are certain attitudes, certain ways of doing things that have to die if we want to feel truly alive. And again, how does this happen? It happens by recognizing the things that are alive. Easter is such a wonderful time. We've created a garden here, and in a moment I'm going to put quotes from the Lord's Word into this garden to represent how we can make that switch from thinking that it's all over, I'm not getting what I want, or I'm not getting my point of view across, or people aren't listening to me, all these things that we can just be barraged with, which are all tomb experiences, to switching it around. I want to connect with that which is alive, that which comes from the Lord. And there's something hugely powerful in that. But there are, again, certain things that have to die, certain attitudes, certain behaviors that have to die in us. But the point of today's message is that it's not the end. I'm not just talking about a bad day, I'm talking about mindsets that we can get into where we feel like it seems hopeless. This relationship seems hopeless, or this family relationship feels hopeless, or we're not making any traction, we're not making any forward motion. And the reminder here, especially on Easter Sunday and on Easter morning, is that we can make new connections, beautiful connections, and it's really reconnecting with the Lord. So the application, what I'd like us to think about today as you leave here, and maybe you do the Easter walk if you haven't done it already, or just spending time with your family, the challenge to you to think about the angel saying, "Why do you seek the living among the dead?" And the challenge to us about seeking the living is to try more, if we're not already doing it, and some are better than others, we're all works in progress, trying to keep the Lord in your everyday life. Try talking about the Lord more in your conversation with others, in your daily work, in the challenges that come up. Bring the Lord into that conversation. This is to seek the living. So I have these quotes from the Lord's Word, some that you heard this morning, and I want us to think about this garden that's being created as a picture of your mind. This is the resurrected life. This is the life that receives life from the Lord, the life-giving life, where things are edifying, where we've got the Lord and His thoughts flowing into our thoughts. And I'd like to embed these in that garden. We all have a mind, and the mind is sometimes likened to a garden. So what's in your garden? Well, we heard the teaching, and we've been singing this. He is risen as He said. So let's make sure that is in our mind. He is risen as He said. The invitation today to seek the living. That is where we find real purpose and meaning. This is a beautiful quote from Acts, the book of Acts. "In Him we live and move and have our being." We truly cannot do anything that is meaningful and helpful and creative and kind and thoughtful if we don't have the Lord invited into our heart space and into our mind space. In Him we live and move and have our being. He is the God of the living. He is the God of the living. This is the challenge for us every day, is to let those certain types of attitudes and behaviors die, because we die as to our former self and rise again as to the new when we recognize those tomb experiences and that we're seeking the Lord in the wrong places. I love this one. This is from the book Divine Providence. We've been created to live to eternity. So that's the message of the Lord. The Lord is infinitely alive, and there was nothing that could be done to extinguish His life. And it's really the same for us. So we have been created to live to eternity. We're living in eternity right now. And the Lord also wishes upon us to live in a blessed state. That's something that we sometimes forget. that we need to be able to find our smile. If you've stopped smiling, remember that the Lord wants us to live in a blessed state, not just, back in 1974. No, today, tomorrow. Live in a blessed state. The Word is the only doctrine which teaches us how to live in the world in order to be happy to eternity. The life force is right there in the Lord's Word. We talk in the New Church quite a bit about our natural self and our spiritual self, and the recognition that sometimes those tomb experiences where we're trying to extract meaning and we're not getting anywhere and we don't feel edified, we don't feel like the conversation we're having with someone is edified or uplifted, the natural part of ourself cannot experience that life that we're talking about. It is our inner part, our spiritual side. And that's why you have a beautiful teaching like this that says a spiritual person is alive. It's our spiritual side that is alive. And this is from the prophet Hosea. He will raise us up that we may live in his sight. So you may even want to, maybe you already have these as favorite quotes. And then this last one that we heard this morning. The Lord rises daily, indeed every single moment, in the minds of people who wish to follow him. What a beautiful message, and what a beautiful message for Easter. So happy Easter, everyone. I hope you have the opportunity today to be able to rise above whatever the frustration or annoyance that will surely come, because we're human, to rise above those thoughts and feelings and realize that the Lord has risen in us and wishes to rise in us every moment of the day, and that all we need to do is to be able to realize that he has the power, he has the strength to turn our life around. This is the message of Easter. Amen.